Welcome to Bizarre Boulevard, where we explore the eerie and forgotten corners of our world. Today, we're delving into the haunting stories of 5 ghost towns in Mississippi. These once thriving communities now stand as silent witnesses to the passage of time, each harboring its own dark secrets and chilling tales. Join me as we uncover the mysteries of Rodney, Rocky Springs, Bangston, Bruton, and Logtown. Rodney, the town that almost was. Our first stop is Rodney, a place that came tantalizingly close to greatness, only to fall into ruin. In the early 19th century, Rodney was a bustling river port, rivaling the likes of Vicksburg and Natchez. Its streets were alive with the sound of commerce, its docks busy with steamboats laden with cotton and other goods. The town was so prosperous that it nearly became the capital of the Mississippi Territory, losing by a mere 3 votes. But Rodney's fortunes were about to take a dramatic turn. The Civil War struck the first blow, with a dramatic shootout at the Presbyterian Church leaving a cannonball lodged in its facade, a grim reminder still visible today. Then came the yellow fever epidemics of 1843 and 1898, decimating the population. As if that weren't enough, the Mississippi River, once the source of Rodney's prosperity, changed course, leaving the town high and dry. Today, Rodney stands frozen in time, a ghost of its former self. The Presbyterian Church, built in 1832, still stands sentinel over the empty streets. A handful of other buildings remain, their weathered facades telling silent stories of a bygone era. But it's not just the buildings that linger. Local legends speak of restless spirits that roam the abandoned town. Some visitors claim to hear the phantom ringing of the church bell on still nights, while others report seeing shadowy figures moving through the overgrown streets. One particularly chilling tale involves the spirit of a Union soldier, said to still patrol the church where he was killed during that fateful Civil War skirmish. Visitors have reported feeling a sudden chill and sensing an unseen presence near the old church. As we stand here in the eerie silence of Rodney, one can't help but wonder, what echoes of the past still resonate in these abandoned streets? Rocky Springs, from prosperity to desolation. Our journey continues to Rocky Springs, a once thriving community that now exists only in memories and crumbling remnants. Founded in the late 1700s, Rocky Springs was named for the natural spring that drew travelers and settlers alike. By 1860, at its peak, the town boasted a population of over 2,600 people, covering an impressive 25 square miles. It was a place of opportunity, with merchants, physicians, teachers, and artisans all calling Rocky Springs home. But beneath this veneer of prosperity, dark currents were stirring. The town had gained a reputation as a hideout for Samuel Mason, a notorious bandit who preyed on travelers along the Natchez Trace. This sinister association was just the beginning of Rocky Springs' troubles. The Civil War dealt the first blow, draining the town of its resources and manpower. Then, in 1878, a yellow fever outbreak swept through the remaining population. As if this wasn't enough, the boll weevil arrived, decimating the cotton crops that were the lifeblood of the community. The final nail in the coffin was severe erosion caused by poor land management, literally eroding the town's foundations. By 1930, the last store had closed its doors, and the natural spring that had given the town its name had run dry, a poetic end to a once thriving community. Today, visitors to Rocky Springs will find an eerily quiet landscape. The Methodist Church, built in 1837, stands as the lone sentinel of the town's former glory. A small graveyard adjacent to the church holds the remains of some of the original settlers, their weathered tombstones telling fragments of long-forgotten stories. But perhaps the most chilling aspect of Rocky Springs is a dark event from its final years. In 1890, a local man was captured by an angry mob and hanged from a tree in the jailhouse yard, his body later buried in the Rodney Cemetery. Some say his restless spirit still walks the abandoned streets at night, a grim reminder of the town's violent end. As we stand here in the shadow of the old church, surrounded by the whispers of the past, one can't help but feel a chill. What secrets do these silent graves hold? What echoes of long-ago lives still resonate in the empty streets of Rocky Springs? Bangston, a town consumed by war. Our next destination is Bangston, a town whose fate was sealed in a single night of wartime violence. Bangston was once a thriving industrial center, its factories humming with activity as they produced vital supplies for the Confederate Army during the Civil War. The town's strategic importance, however, would prove to be its undoing. On the night of December 30, 1864, Union forces descended upon Bangston. In a swift and devastating attack, they set fire to the town's factories. The night sky was illuminated by the inferno as cotton, wool, and flour mills were reduced to ashes. While no lives were lost in the conflagration, the town's economic lifeblood was effectively destroyed. Today, Bangston stands as a silent testament to the destructive power of war. The once bustling factories are now nothing more than overgrown foundations, barely visible beneath years of encroaching vegetation. The town itself has all but disappeared, swallowed by the passage of time. All that remains is the Bangston Cemetery, a hauntingly beautiful relic of the past. Its weathered tombstones stand in neat rows, telling the stories of those who once called this place home. Some visitors have reported strange occurrences in the cemetery, particularly on quiet nights. There are whispers of shadowy figures moving between the graves, and some claim to hear the distant sound of machinery, echoes of the town's industrial past. As we stand among the silent graves, one can't help but feel a sense of unease. What memories linger here? What unseen presences might still roam the empty fields where Bangston once stood? Bruton, a town plagued by misfortune. Our journey now takes us to Bruton, a town that seems to have been cursed by bad luck from its very inception. Nestled near the Pascagoula River, Bruton initially flourished as a lumber town, later diversifying into turpentine production. But despite its promising start, the town seemed to attract misfortune like a magnet. The sawmills, the lifeblood of the town, burned down not once, but twice. The town changed hands multiple times, each new owner hoping to reverse its fortunes. But perhaps the most dramatic incident was the burning of the courthouse, an event shrouded in mystery and rumor. Some attribute it to the actions of James Outland, a local outlaw whose name still sends shivers down the spines of those who remember the old stories. These repeated calamities took their toll. One by one, the residents of Bruton packed up and left, seeking better fortunes elsewhere. Today, Bruton is little more than a memory, its remote location making it challenging for all but the most determined explorers to reach. All that remains of this ill-fated town is the basement of the old courthouse, a stark reminder of the town's turbulent past. Local legend has it that on quiet nights, one can still hear the crackling of phantom flames and the desperate shouts of long-gone residents trying to save their town. As we stand here, surrounded by the encroaching wilderness that has reclaimed what was once Bruton, one can't help but feel a sense of unease. What dark forces conspired against this town? And do the echoes of its troubled past still linger in these overgrown ruins? Logtown, from lumber giant to lost memory. Our final stop on this journey through Mississippi's ghost towns is Logtown, a place that once stood at the forefront of the lumber industry, only to vanish almost without a trace. In its heyday, Logtown was home to the H. Weston Lumber Company, which operated what was then the world's largest sawmill. The town hummed with activity, its population swelling to 3,000 residents. The air was filled with the sound of saws and the scent of fresh-cut timber. It seemed that Logtown's future was as solid as the massive trees it harvested. But like many boom towns, Logtown's prosperity was built on a foundation as unstable as sawdust. By 1930, the lumber company had gone out of business, leaving the town without its economic backbone. Many residents drifted away, seeking new opportunities elsewhere. The final blow came in the 1960s with the construction of the NASA Stennis Space Center nearby. The remaining residents were forced to relocate, leaving Logtown to the encroaching wilderness. Today, almost nothing remains of this once thriving community. The massive sawmill, once the pride of Logtown, has vanished without a trace. All that's left is a privately owned cemetery and a few crumbling foundations, slowly being reclaimed by the forest that once fueled the town's prosperity. Local legends speak of strange sounds echoing through the woods on quiet nights, the ghostly whir of phantom saws and the shouts of long-gone lumberjacks. Some even claim to have seen spectral figures moving among the trees, perhaps the restless spirits of those who once called Logtown home. As we stand here, surrounded by the quiet forest that has reclaimed Logtown, it's hard not to feel a sense of melancholy. How quickly can a thriving community vanish, leaving barely a trace behind? What stories lie buried beneath these silent woods? And so we conclude our journey through Mississippi's ghost towns. Each of these places, Rodney, Rocky Springs, Bangston, Bruton, and Logtown, tells a unique story of rise and fall, of hopes and dreams turned to dust. They stand as silent witnesses to the passage of time, reminding us of the fragility of human endeavors. As we leave these forgotten places behind, we can't help but wonder, what other secrets lie hidden in the abandoned corners of our world? What other stories are waiting to be uncovered? Until next time, this is Bizarre Boulevard, where the past is never truly gone, and the lines between history and mystery blur into the shadows. Good night, and remember, in some places, the ghosts of the past are always watching.